For thousands of years, people have spoken of a mighty empire, a city so advanced, so powerful, that it shaped the legends of human history. But then, in a single day and night, it vanished beneath the ocean. This is the mystery of Atlantis, a lost world that continues to haunt the imagination of philosophers, historians, and explorers. After Plato, the story of Atlantis immediately became a subject of curiosity and debate among other Greek thinkers. However, not all philosophers accepted his account as literal history. Plato's own student, Aristotle, is reported to have dismissed the tale of Atlantis. According to later sources, Aristotle once remarked, "The man who invented it also destroyed it." This statement reflects his belief that Atlantis was nothing more than a fictional creation designed by Plato as a moral lesson rather than as an actual place. Other ancient writers, such as Herodotus, who lived a century earlier than Plato, did not mention Atlantis at all. Herodotus described many distant lands and cultures, from Egypt to Scythia, yet there is no reference to a sunken civilization in his works. This silence has led many modern historians to argue that if Atlantis truly existed, a historian as detailed as Herodotus would not have ignored it. Yet not everyone in antiquity dismissed the possibility. Some later Greek and Roman authors, including Pliny the Elder and Posidonius, entertained the idea that Plato might have been referring to a real land in the Atlantic Ocean. Posidonius in particular speculated about islands beyond the known world, raising the possibility that Plato's narrative had some geographical foundation. The debate among ancient thinkers essentially divided into two camps: those who believed Plato's Atlantis was purely symbolic, those who thought he was preserving fragments of a lost historical memory. This division would echo through the centuries, shaping how both medieval scholars and modern researchers approached the mystery. The uncertainty that began in ancient Greece still continues today, making Atlantis one of the most enduring enigmas of historical inquiry. During the medieval period, the story of Atlantis did not completely disappear. Instead, it was reinterpreted by both Islamic scholars and European thinkers in different ways. In the Islamic world, many scholars were deeply engaged with the writings of Greek philosophers. Works of Plato and Aristotle were translated into Arabic during the Abbasid period, especially in the famous House of Wisdom in Baghdad. Although direct references to Atlantis are rare in Arabic sources, the concept of a lost civilization beneath the sea was often discussed in relation to the great floods and ancient peoples mentioned in older traditions. Some Muslim geographers, like Al-Mas'udi and Al-Idrisi, wrote about unknown islands in the Atlantic Ocean, sometimes hinting that vast lands may have once existed but were later swallowed by the waters. In medieval Europe, Christian scholars also grappled with Plato's narrative. Some interpreted Atlantis as a symbolic reference to the biblical flood of Noah, suggesting that Plato's account was simply a distorted memory of that universal catastrophe. Others linked it to the idea of lands once inhabited before divine punishment erased them. By the Renaissance, curiosity about ancient knowledge revived. Thinkers such as Sir Francis Bacon used the idea of Atlantis in his philosophical work, The New Atlantis, where he imagined an ideal society founded on science and wisdom. Though Bacon's version was fictional, it revived interest in the possibility that Plato's account was based on a forgotten historical truth. Thus, in the medieval and early modern world, Atlantis became a flexible symbol, sometimes seen as allegory, sometimes as a memory of a real catastrophe. This ambiguity ensured that the legend never faded, but instead continued to grow in influence. The modern revival of Atlantis as a serious subject can be traced to the late 19th century. In 1882, an American congressman and writer named Ignatius Donnelly published a book titled Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. This work became one of the most influential texts on the subject and shaped how millions of readers imagined the lost city. Donnelly argued that Atlantis was not a myth, but rather the cradle of human civilization. According to his theory, Atlantis was the original homeland from which agriculture, metallurgy, language, and even religion spread to Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Americas. He claimed that the destruction of Atlantis explained why so many ancient cultures around the world shared similar myths of great floods and sunken lands. While mainstream scholars criticized Donnelly for his lack of evidence, his ideas captured the imagination of the public. His book was translated into many languages and inspired a new generation of explorers, mystics, and pseudo-historians to search for the remains of Atlantis. In the early 20th century, interest in Atlantis became linked with spiritual and occult movements. Writers like Helena Blavatsky of the Theosophical Society suggested that Atlantis had been home to a highly advanced spiritual race, far beyond modern humanity. Others, such as Edgar Cayce, the so-called sleeping prophet of America, claimed in trance readings that Atlantis had used mysterious crystal technology and that its ruins would one day be discovered near the Bahamas. At the same time, some serious scholars also engaged with the question, though in a more cautious way. Geologists and archaeologists explored possible connections between Atlantis and known events, such as the eruption of Santorini, Thera, around 1600 BCE, which destroyed the Minoan civilization on Crete. This catastrophe was one of the most violent eruptions in human history and could have inspired Plato's account of a mighty civilization suddenly destroyed by the sea. By the mid-20th century, the debate had expanded further. Some writers placed Atlantis in the Caribbean, others in South America, and a few even speculated about Antarctica. Although mainstream archaeology continued to reject these ideas, the legend of Atlantis remained firmly embedded in popular culture, appearing in books, films, and even scientific debates. In this way, from Donnelly's 19th century theories to the diverse interpretations of the 20th century, Atlantis evolved into more than just a Greek myth. It became a global symbol, a puzzle that linked archaeology, geology, mythology, and human imagination. In the modern scientific era, researchers have tried to separate fact from fiction when it comes to Atlantis. Instead of relying on mystical claims, geologists, oceanographers, and archaeologists have studied whether Plato's account could be linked to real natural events. One of the strongest scientific theories connects Atlantis with the Minoan civilization on the island of Crete and the volcanic eruption of Thera, Santorini, around 1600 BCE. This eruption destroyed entire settlements, caused massive tsunamis, and left parts of the Aegean world in ruins. Some historians argue that Plato's description of a powerful civilization suddenly sinking into the sea may have been inspired by this catastrophe. Another line of research focuses on the Mediterranean Sea and its shifting coastlines. Underwater surveys have revealed the remains of ancient cities off the coasts of Greece, Egypt, and even India. While none of these sites match Plato's exact description, they demonstrate that great civilizations have indeed been lost to the ocean throughout history. In the Atlantic Ocean, scientists have used sonar mapping to search for unusual structures on the seabed. Some explorers claim to find geometric patterns resembling roads or walls, especially near the Azores or the Bahamas. However, most experts explain these as natural formations rather than human-made ruins. Geologists also emphasize that the Earth has gone through dramatic environmental changes. Ice ages, rising sea levels, earthquakes, and floods have repeatedly reshaped coastlines. It is therefore plausible that Plato's story preserved a distant memory of such disasters, even if not in the exact way he described. Modern historians and scientists remain cautious. They acknowledge that while Atlantis, as Plato wrote it, may not have existed, the idea of advanced cultures being destroyed by sudden natural events is entirely realistic. Human history is filled with lost cities, from Pompeii in Italy to Dwarka in India, proving that nature has always had the power to erase entire civilizations. Thus, the scientific perspective keeps Atlantis alive, not as a proven fact, but as a reminder of how fragile human societies are in the face of nature's forces. The story of Atlantis has traveled across more than 2,000 years of history. From Plato's original account in the 4th century BCE, to medieval scholars, to modern historians and scientists, the question has never been fully answered. Was Atlantis a real civilization destroyed by natural disaster? Or was it only a moral allegory created by Plato to warn against arrogance and corruption? Ancient thinkers were divided. Medieval scholars reinterpreted it through the lens of religion. Modern researchers linked it with geological events like the eruption of Santorini. Yet no single explanation has ever been universally accepted. This uncertainty is what keeps Atlantis alive in human imagination. It is not just a lost city, it is a symbol of how fragile human societies can be, and how much of our past may still lie hidden beneath the oceans. So the question remains open. Do you believe Atlantis was real, or only a legend that grew larger with time? This was Lost Thrones, where history meets mystery. If you enjoyed this journey into the secrets of Atlantis, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who love exploring the hidden past. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. Was Atlantis the greatest lost civilization in human history, or just one of Plato's timeless stories? Join us again as we continue to uncover more forgotten thrones of the ancient world.